Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily from our threshold. Saturn. Let's get the right planet. Crossing over the threshold into the sign of Aquarius. And Saturn, this 2020 astrology is really about Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto coming together, and that epic conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in January. Now, Saturn is the first one to cross over the threshold into the sign of Aquarius. And we are up against the wall with what needs to change for us to move into the new age. And what needs to be changed seems to have a lot to do with exposure of the darkness, the lies, the corruption, the systems of our world that are not working for the people. The ideal, the higher octave of the Aquarian age has to do with taking care of everyone in order to have taking care of the individual in order to have a better whole. And egalitarian and bringing people together. And we are trying to move into this energy. Now, this is what this Mercury retrograde's been about. Mercury has made it to 4 degrees today. And so it's coming out of it turned retrograde at 12 degrees. So it's gets back to 12 degrees on the 30th. And so it will be coming out of its retrograde shadow. So by the 30th of March, we're going to be definitely kind of coming out of a whole interesting chapter of this Mercury retrograde, and we'll see how that corresponds to what's going on in the world. But Mercury retrograde going over the Aquarius Pisces cusp 3 times is very significant. And 3 times the main transits that Mercury made, speaking to this Aquarian age, now Saturn moving over into Aquarius, the planets are speaking to us, and it's really important that we listen right now, and maybe they can help us understand a bigger picture of what's trying to happen in our world. So Mercury went over that cusp and just, passed over its 3rd time this month. And the transits that Mercury made during this retrograde was 3 times in a sextile with Uranus, 3 times of a trine with the North Node. And now these are happening at the same time. And today it's exact. We got Mercury at 4 degrees Pisces. That's 2 signs over from Uranus in Taurus. So that's sextile, and the 60 degrees apart. And then we've got Uranus 2 signs over from the North Node. And again, this star pattern being created. And these are very harmonious transits, because this also means, Mercury is in trine. So the other transit is this that Mercury has made 3 times during this retrograde is trine the North Node. So when these transits happen on the 3rd and final pass, that's when you get the message. That's when you get the gift of it. That's when it makes sense of what's going on. And here we have them both happening at the same time. The 3rd and final Mercury sextile Uranus, and Mercury trine the North Node, Uranus sextile the North Node, and that makes Uranus in trine to the South Node, and Mercury sextile, so to the South Node. So this is an interesting energy, because now Chiron has moved on to 5 degrees and Black Moon Lilith is at 6 degrees. So they're still in a close square with the nodes. This is our tension that we've been feeling, but they're lightening up. That's moving away. The North Node is going to move to 3 degrees. We've got about just over a month left of the North Node in Cancer. So we're trying to get the messages of this North Node in Cancer that lasts for about 1.5 years, the North Node in a sign. And so our tension is lessening. Of course, we have Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, which of course is bringing some pressure to the systems of our world. But we're having this incredibly harmonious configuration right now. And we need to grab a hold of this energy. We need to be present with the Mars, Jupiter, Pluto. So today we've got Mars at 23 Jupiter. So Mars and Jupiter exactly conjunct today. And Mars says, let's get on with the show. right? And Jupiter is bringing expansion and possibilities and amplification of the Pluto energy of this breakdown of the structures of our world. And we know some shit needs to break down, you know? And this world situation is actually bringing a potential opportunity to reveal so much truth and so much corruption and so much distortion in our world that we've been just putting a blind eye to, right? Like just moving forward in our life. And I can attest to this, like, just a little bit of venting here around dedicating my life to healthcare as a classical homeopath and seeing the world, like just going to the grocery store today and it's like you need 6 feet of distance between you, and this is the natural health food store where and it's like there's just been this whole paradigm for years leading up to this event that we're having right now, this bioweapon event. That is about disconnecting us from our own ability to heal ourselves and to trust in our immune system and the power of the physical body, the energetic field. And this is our power, our life force. This is our connection to spirit and life force, and just to have this inundation of wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, and then like little old vitamin C is getting dogged on, even though vitamin C is completely preventing coronavirus and curing coronavirus, right? And in China and Japan, and they're actively using these. And so it's just like this, but and it actually was like the attack. There was a period of time where naturopathic doctors, one after another, who were doing deep cancer research, cures to cancer, were being killed, mysterious deaths. There was like 100 of them, and of course, we're not even told about it. And just this direct attack on our life force, our ability to heal ourselves, the power we have, and it all is about giving our power over to the authorities, and this is the Capricorn energy. And it's like, okay, oh yeah, no, I'm powerless in this situation. Give me the vaccine, And it's like the vaccine's already created because they did when they created the bioweapon. And it's just looking at the senators dropping their stocks after they got briefed on this virus, and it's just like this has to come forward before we can move into the Aquarian age. Like we are at that place. Some stuff needs to break down. And that's where you souls come in holding space for the bigger picture of what's really going on. Even though we don't get to know what's going on, we know that there needs to be some deep and profound changes in our world. We can't just go on pretending it's okay. And there is evidence of massive disclosure and moving towards, like right now, there's this shadow war going on and this game being played, and I'll get into more details on that. If you're interested in truth, if you really want to know, please check out my True Awakening channel where we go deeper into these topics. If you are not comfortable with that, please don't go there. But the link will be in the description box. I need to go put that in there right after. And so, but we know this is the True Awakening channel. I started that because I realized that my passion to try to help and support spiritual awakening on the planet, what was blocking spiritual awakening is the lies that we've been told about our true history, about who we are, the power of our consciousness, our ability to heal ourselves with our physical body, and alternative medicine like homeopathy. And so it was like, oh my goodness, this is the awakening for the masses. Of course, these souls that follow this work, you've already been going through the awakening. And that's where we have to be a little bit gentle because, for me, it's like I've been studying and, going deep into these topics for like 20 years. And some people with the truths that appear to be ready to come out maybe are only going to have 2 weeks to adjust to these truths, so we have to be kind of like hold space for that transition. I'll be talking through that whole process and what seems to be happening on other levels on that other channel. But just this, we are at a crossroads where we need to see major change, and that's this situation that's going on. Nothing makes sense with this virus situation. And yet, is it an opportunity to reveal these truths, because it's like there's maybe possibly very, good people for many years working behind the scenes to try to bring forward a big change, a disclosure, say of like technologies that are available that we're not told about that are being used against us. That's a big part of this pandemic is technological energy, and still nature provides what we need to be able to heal ourselves, you know but there's like a downright all out planned for many years attack on our freedoms to be sovereign. And this situation is could be the perfect opportunity for this all to be revealed. And every day there's actually more truth out there, and getting around the the monkey media of like all just what what the propaganda of what they want to feed us at fear and hysteria. And so who knows what's going on, but it's really, really important. I know I say this every day, for us souls to hold space for that bigger picture, that this is our spiritual awakening, and we know some stuff needs to break down in order for that to happen. And people who are not aware on this level at all are really having a hard time, and having a hard time with the financial changes, the fear, this pandemic energy. Even where I live is pretty far away from big cities, and yet people, this social distance, I mean, just this, how we're being good little sheep and just going along with the societal control right now is really interesting. And have we been mind controlled for years to be then just so we're like, this is the Cancer Capricorn axis, and we're just like, oh, okay, yeah, and then like right when, so anyway, I'll leave that for my other channel. I'm getting off into the weeds here, but that's kind of what's going on. Like we're in a very weedy, but most people do not want to face the truth. And this is this situation that we're in right now might be the way that we have this mass awakening to this truth, which will therefore bring on the spiritual awakening. And so those of you who can see a little bit of a bigger picture, that it's like, yeah, we need some change. Yeah, we need to move to Aquarian age. It's like, yeah, enough already of the lies and distortions and the complete, rape of our freedoms and our sovereignty as spiritual beings of God consciousness in a body. We are just so being called right now to connect with each other. And I've been talking about the 12 p.m., the noon, kind of prayer wave meditation. But I think we need to go 24/7, like let's take this opportunity where things are shutting down and slowing down to just be in ceremony, to just hold space for what's really happening, to send our love and light to those beings that have been working behind the scenes to turn the ship around. And it's like we're in that final hour, but we kind of need to get to the final hour for all to be revealed. And so I cannot even tell you the message I'm getting around these souls. Like, whoa, this is why you're here. This is why you've gone through everything you've gone through, because it's time for us in our consciousness to connect with each other, and find our soul group that we've been working with since the beginning of time, and hold space for the light that's coming in, for the spiritual ascension, for our neighbors, and for this shocking realizations that are coming in order for us to move forward. It could be way better sooner than we can imagine. And that's the astrology right now. I mean, I'm sure you can feel it. We talked about it yesterday, like such rapid changes where you feel one way, and then a few minutes later, you feel a completely different way. You feel like a different person. And it's like, it's up to us to allow this spiritual evolution to happen in our own being, to receive that light, and to hold space for this mass awakening that is absolutely necessary. Now, it's interesting because that was a lot of the energy that I was feeling around this Chiron Black Moon Lilith. We've been in about a month of Chiron Black Moon Lilith, very close. And right now, I mean, they're still only a degree apart. But Black Moon Lilith will move on, but that's really about revealing the dark side of the moon, which has to do with our deepest, darkest secrets within us, the places that we've been in denial of our deepest wounds, with the Chiron, our deepest traumas, and then what's going on in our society, which everybody is just like, oh yeah, well, and we can't go on. We can't keep these dark energies happening. We can't keep these dark things happening on the planet. And these sensitive souls I've been talking about have been feeling all of this so energetically, you know, um, so wanting to help humanity and at the same time get me off of this crazy planet, right? Because it's incredibly frustrating to have gone through all you've gone through, be saddled with like dark, heavy collective energies, and then have nothing you can do to help. And that's one of the delusions that's breaking down for these soul groups, is that no, 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 you are so powerful. And yes, you're programmed away from that lifetime after lifetime, but now it's time to step back into that power. And we don't have time to like stay in the trauma energies and the fear programming, right? It's like, all hands on deck. It's time to do this. And then that's that radical shift in self-worth of recognizing you do have power to shift consciousness in our collective, and that's a big message coming through. Is it doesn't take, I know everybody is surrounded by people who are really hurting and freaking out, but it doesn't take very many. It takes a small amount of us can affect a huge amount of change and overcome all of the mind control and technological crap and the programming and the fear, all of it. We are so powerful, especially when we work together. So I'm still on the noon in your time zone prayer wave. People are doing 6 p.m. prayer waves as well. But let's just go to our 24/7 holding space and use this time to put our attention on that light, on the spiritual ascension and what needs to happen for that. And that this is that this is a good thing. And we're at the end of the road. We've got to push through. And that's kind of the theme that came through around the new moon that is happening on Tuesday in most of the world, the 24th. But in my time zone, I'm going to be doing an activation tomorrow, Monday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, a new moon activation. And that's the energy with this, because Saturn or Mars and tomorrow, yeah, Mars and Pluto come into their exact conjunction. And so it's kind of that Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, the warrior action. Let's go. Let's make some stuff happen. Pluto, the breakdown for better, to reveal the darkness, the deep shadowy stuff, and build a better world. And release the fear. Now, Mars and Pluto are both rulers of Scorpio, and that's that like deep, dark hidden energy. It's also our psychic spiritual power and our fear of that power. And so Jupiter in the mix is saying, get over. That's exactly that message. Like, we don't have time for the trauma and the fear right now. It's time to step into the light of who you are, because you're being called to the table now, and you are a part of the plan. And you have been waiting in the wings, partially incarnated, limping along, trying to figure out why the heck you're even here on this planet, right? And now you know. And that's that Uranus and Taurus radical shift in self-worth, and this incredible lining up of Mercury at 4 degrees, Uranus at 4 degrees, North Node at 4 degrees, that sextile star energy. It's time to come into the star that we are. And this opportunity is giving that to us. And also, I'm seeing this huge push through with our consciousness to find each other. And this has been such an interesting thing for me, is like trying to work with these soul groups. And I just have come to this passionate desire to help bring these souls together, because it seems to be a big part of our spiritual evolution and our ascension. Like, we're doing it in groups this time, whereas in the past we had one master show us what was possible, right? And so, of course, there's lots of programming that keeps these people from finding each other. But in the sessions I do, it's like shown you guys are working as a group subconsciously, And what happens when we go and you do that consciously? We don't have to be in the same location. It sure would be nice, right? And that's what's waiting for us on the other side of this. A lot of people are so triggered into trauma right now, like cellular trauma, family ancestral programming. And that's kind of what the control energies want, where they want us, right? Because then we're more easily controlled. That's been the whole story of this evolution, not just the Piscean age, you know? And so when you're in there, you can't see the future. It doesn't seem like you could ever move beyond this. It's like you're just stuck here, and that's exactly where they want us to be. But these souls know that they're just getting started, and we are going to find each other in person, and we are going to get together and do these amazing projects together, and it's going to be awesome. And maybe the energies are finally going to support us, and not just the energies, the structures of this world, you know? So break it down, right? And trust that, there's so many illusions, like our whole financial system, the Federal Reserve just completely controlling us, and this insider trading is showing us this. How we've just had billions and billions, and especially around this paradigm, this pandemic paradigm that's been planned for many years. Like, that's our taxpayer dollars they're using to create evil again and again and again. And it all seems to be planned to go up against these people who are really trying to bring in their passionate spiritual purpose to bring change into the structures of our world. And they're willing to try to kill a bunch of the population, freak us out, crash the market, and do all of this, to keep positive change from happening. And it's like, okay, right, we're at the end game, and maybe that's it. Like the negative timeline and the positive timeline that you cannot stop, the ideal timeline, the divine timeline that is absolutely landing. Nothing can stop it. This new age, but the negative creation, they're coming into a head, and all that can happen is a revealing of truth and a breakdown. But we have to trust that also, and hold space and support in our vibration, the people who are working, and all of us are working towards that positive change. We've gone through too much, and we've come too far. We're not losing, we're winning. And but it's what we're being shown is not the truth of what's really going on energetically, and that's the breakdown. So really powerful energies for us to just come home to who we are. Let that divine timeline come into our individual lives and realize the power of our consciousness, push through these boundaries. Oh, and that's what I was saying about these sessions. It's like I'll work with the soul group, and I'll call them in and kind of see what's going on in the soul group. And a lot of times they'll be right next to each other, but their heads are down, they're distracted, they're blindfolded, they're tied up. They don't see each other, So this is our opportunity to kind of feel this energy of our soul groups and be like, wow, we're doing this amazing project together, and we were just convinced otherwise for so many lifetimes. But this situation is showing us, so much. And I do think that in the next, it won't be long before we get a huge shift and a disclosure of deeper truths, like where this virus really came from, the dark agendas, this insider trading is part of it. And so hold tight, hold space for the light, for the truth, because it looks like we're going into deeper dark lockdown first. So do what you're here to do, light worker, and be present in that. Separate yourself from those energies, let them happen, and know that you're here to be in a different vibration right now, and connect with those souls that are holding space too. And like, we are so powerful, and we're creating a star grid, just by being open to these energies. We're allowing that star Christ consciousness grid to be created. And that's what the planets are saying to us right now, with Mercury at 4, Uranus at 4, North Node at 4, and 4 is 4 walls, So it is time to build a new structure. And that's a big thing that I've seen helping individual souls through their process. It's like we hold on to old patterns of what we know, which is trauma and, a fear, because it's all we know. And it's almost like right now, humanity in the collective consciousness is clinging to these things because that's what feels safe, even though it's destructive. and it's not true, and it's lies, and it's and it it's lower vibrational energy, but it's like clinging to the sinking ship because that's all you know, right? And what I've been shown again and again is that you've got to make a leap, and this is what humanity is being asked to do right now, and we're being asked to be those angels that we are, and like hold space for this leap in consciousness, because until you can let go of that sinking ship, you can't be held by the lower vibrational frequencies, and allowing ourselves to move into the light energy, something to catch up. There is something to catch us, right? And that might be a really good energy to hold to in your meditations and your ceremony, to let this new grid catch us, and that we are the new grid by holding this vibration, allowing ourselves to feel peace and joy and love and hope and trust. And like, we know we're cosmic beings so much. This is one little blip of our experience, you know, and yet humanity is clinging, and that's okay. But we're here to, I see this like the grid we're creating is like a net of these new energies. And it's like, it's okay. We can, and that's what it's like for people making the shift. They go from like struggling along, like kind of dragging their physical body through the heavier energies, and like everything is just so working against them. That's the closer you get, right? And then when you make the leap to the higher energies, like, oh, I can float through this life and be held and cared for, and that's where humanity is trying to make the leap. And if we can make that leap first, right? Because this is the delusion that we're working through, is that whole martyrdom sacrifice. It's like, we're helping humanity by being in the fear and trauma, right? But no, we can't do it anymore. And we've got to let ourselves be in the joy and the light and the hope. This is just powerful medicine that's right there. It's right outside of this lower matrix that's dismantling, and the dismantling is a really, really good thing. So thanks again. Great, massive gratitude coming in for these souls. And just, isn't it amazing to come into this power that you didn't even know you had, that's so needed on the planet right now? And just deep gratitude, and just allow that radical shift in self-worth. And maybe if you are having space in your life because of these situations, use it to be in that place of meditation and ceremony, and with the light and with your true bigger self and the true bigger picture, that we're so much more than this experience, and enough of the delusions and the lies. So maybe you'll feel like you want to join that new moon activation. That's going to be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you can't, it's exactly 12 hours before the exact new moon in Aries. And so the sun is now, in Aries, today it's at 1 degree, it's moving, and will be the sun and moon both close to Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith, square the nodes. So it's almost like this is a culmination of that tension that we felt of the square of the nodes. And it's like breakthrough, break the chains. And the chains that we're breaking in these soul groups, is on our consciousness and the programming and the constantly distracting us from our true self and our true purpose over lifetimes, and very deliberate distracting. And that's exactly what this energy is that's happening in the world. It's distracting us from the spiritual revelations and the spiritual awakening. And yet it's so much bigger than all of this play of events, right? So if you can't make the live event, the energy is encoded. You can still get that energy when it works in your time zone. And if you can't make it at all, just your intention to join can just really hook you up with this connection to your soul group. And I've had people say, well, I don't have a soul group, right? And it's like, no, you do. It's like, and they're all feeling like you're feeling. This is what I've been shown. Like, the reason why you guys are connected is because you have very similar past life stories, very similar stuff you're working on. You're working on it together, even though you feel completely isolated and alone. And it's time to come out of quarantine and isolation. While collective goes into quarantine and isolation, you get to come out. And so I look forward to seeing you there on the astral plane at the event on the next update and maybe on that True Awakening channel if you're called to check that out. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.